I'm going to go meta on you for a moment, and I do not mean Facebook. I'd like to share a story about stories. I think it was about 2 weeks ago at this point that we opened our high school for the year. And we broke our students and our parents into 2 separate groups. And each one of those groups got to hear the same story. And here it is. It was World War II, and young Meir was in a Siberian work camp. His grandfather, the Rabbi, was there with him. And he watched his grandfather get more and more worn with each passing week. And it wasn't just the back-breaking work. It was also that Rosh HaShanah was coming. And although his grandfather, the Rabbi, had a shofar with him, it was contraband. They weren't allowed to sound it. They weren't even allowed to possess it. And Meir knew that this was tasking at his grandfather, watching him wearing away before his eyes. So one night, Meir wrapped his hands and feet in as many rags as he could find, and he went out into the cold, windy, dark Siberian night. This was profoundly dangerous. Not only was the weather incredibly, incredibly cold, but if the guards had seen him, they would kill him on sight. Nonetheless, he made his way to the gate of the camp, where an enormous bell was hung on a podium. That bell was used to sound shift changes in the work camp and also to awaken the workers each day. Meir climbed carefully to the top of one of the posts, and slowly he worried at the knot that held the bell suspended until it gave way and went crashing to the ground, where due to the cold it shattered. He ran back to camp as quickly as he could, and fortunately managed to escape detection. The next day, the camp was in a complete uproar, because the guards now had no way to maintain the schedule. They would fall behind in work. How were they supposed to keep the camp moving forward? Meir ran to his grandfather and quickly whispered to him everything that he had done. Tell them you have a shepherd's horn. Tell them you know how to sound it. So the Rebbe went and brought forth the horn and demonstrated his ability to sound it. The story also says that the commandant of the camp grabbed the shofar away from him and tried to sound it and couldn't get anything out of it and gave it back. And that is how the Jews in that Siberian work camp were able to hear the sound of shofar played with increasing joy and increasing meaning through all the days of Rosh HaShanah. And that's also how young Meir was able to show his love for his grandfather. So after reading that story, and it gets me every time, and that is an historical story. It really did happen. I asked the parents in their group, some of them here. I asked the students in their group for their reactions. And I was more than blown away. I was inspired by what ended up benefiting. It rippled out to touch all of those who were there together in that camp. Each of these groups, the students and the parents, even though they were separated by a very large age gap, they all understood something really profound about community. When we connect to another person, really connect with them, then the entire group can be strengthened. Strong relationships lead to blessing. Put that on a bumper sticker. Strong relationships lead to blessing. And that describes precisely the kind of Jewish community that we're working to build right here. That's what we're about. We derive the greatest strength at Bethel through the relationships that surround us and that connect us, and that helps our community thrive. I offer two very short examples of exactly the kind of relationships that I'm talking about that I have seen right here over the past few months. Number one of our members was having trouble getting to services, and they asked for help. They needed a ride. And what do you know? People who were from their town started sharing rides with them. It's a lovely thing. So the person who needed help got it and benefited by coming to Shul. And we all benefited from that person's presence. They made new friends, which strengthened our community. They brought amazing home-baked challah, which was really tasty. We all benefited as a community from that one new connection. Second example. One of our members fell ill. It wasn't COVID, but it was still uncomfortable. There was still real need there. And the call went out, the word went out that this person needed phone calls. They were isolated. They needed Zoom connection and cards and food. It was a hard situation. And that call echoed out through the community. And calls and cards and food arrived. And when that person got better, they in turn began to help coordinate efforts to help other people who became in need in our community as well. So, that one person needed, that one person benefited when others reached out, and then that person could help share blessing back to the community as a whole. This is just like the story in the shofar and the bell. Really, I see the parallels here being very, very tight. When care is extended into one corner of our community, no matter where it is, it has the potential to benefit the group as a whole. That's what we're about. That's what we're looking to plant as seeds for this new year. These kinds of relationships are more than important. These relationships are holy. They are some of the most powerful factors as well in determining the health of communities such as ours. The depth and the strength and the breadth of our relationships. That's how we know if a community is going to thrive. So to that point, over the last year and a half, I've had the honor of studying as a fellow at the Clergy Leadership Institute, CLE for short. And my Bethel design team, some of whom are here today, and to whom I'm very, very grateful, my think tank here in our community, helped me to plan a series of garden meetings. You might have seen the emails about them. Please tell me you saw the emails about them. Okay, good. Starting this summer, going right up until the fall. I think our last one was the second day of our Be Inspired program. So we sat together, and it wasn't just members, I will add. It was also some former members and also people in the broader Jewish community, because that Thursday morning minyan pulls people in from all over. And we spoke together. And I listened to their stories, to their history at Bethel, their experiences here, their worries, and their concerns for our community in our transition, for our broader world in these troubled times. And we also reflected on the many ways in which our community can be a source of blessing in their lives. something that I wasn't expecting to hear was people sharing their desires for new ways that we could find resilience together. I want to share just 3 short examples of the kinds of things that our members said that they felt would help them enter a new year with some hope and some support. Coordinating rides to temple. I heard that again and again, and I'm not going to belabor the point. Here's one that I, as a parent, really loved. Teaming up adoptive grandparents with adoptive grandchildren. Many of our empty nesters said they'd love to spend quality time with adoptive grandkids who didn't live halfway across the country. And many of our parents said, hey, that would be kind of awesome to have a date night with someone we trust with our kids. It's a lovely idea. And the other one, affinity groups who would unite over shared interests like Bethel bakers, Bethel crafters, Bethel hikers. And what I love about this is that let's say that we had Bethel bakers. I just love how that comes trippingly from the tongue. When those bakers come together in our kitchen, it wouldn't be merely people who enjoy baking. That is an act of meaning. That members of our community are coming together to celebrate something that gives them delight, and they're experiencing it in our temple home. And that changes something that's a fun hobby into something that is a source of spiritual nourishment and that weaves our community together. Us. What all of these have in common is that there are ways to keep us connected and uplifted, and God willing, even sane in these difficult times. So, again, like the shofar and the bell, and I'm going to keep hammering on that, pun not intended, the more we find uplift together, the more the community flourishes. So, starting this past summer, Michelle and I started meeting regularly and having conversations about the relationships that weave us together. And we saw these past few months as the ideal time for us to take stock as we began to emerge from that deep COVID isolation that kept us physically apart. And to ask ourselves, how might we enter this new year healthfully as a leadership team and as a broader community? We returned to our vision statement to help us maintain a sense of focus. And that vision statement is a very clear expression of purpose for our community's existence. Here it is again. It's on our webpage. It's everywhere for us. It's important. Congregation Bethel is joyful, participatory Judaism. We sing, learn, laugh, and pray together, and celebrate our varied backgrounds, identities, and experiences. We connect with Jewish values and traditions as we strive to create a more just future for ourselves, for our children, and for our world. And in our conversations, Michelle and I realized that that vision statement is aspirational. It describes who we want to be, not necessarily who we already are. And it challenges us to put relationships at the center of everything that we do together. To offer each other that care and that support, that uplift and inspiration, that moment that we had just now, where we covered each other with our talitot. That's the way that we want people to feel whenever they come into our building. Nourished and sheltered, cared for together. So we saw a need as temple leaders to highlight our vision statement as a guide for our staff, for our leaders, and for our congregants, for everyone participating in the life of our community. So Beth put it up on the screen when we had our calendaring meeting for the year. Michelle and Beth brought it to our Michelle and Belle brought it to our board retreat last month. And then Michelle and I read that vision statement again at our last board meeting as we offered a charge to the board for this new year of 5783. And I am delighted to share that they accepted this charge thoughtfully and wholeheartedly. Here's what we said. Let us affirm as a core task in this new year that we have a responsibility to help make our community into one that nourishes our members, to mindfully support existing relationships, and to help create new ones through all that we do together, to help all of our members to feel the enduring blessing of remaining a part of this holy community. And we immediately began a conversation about how to enhance our community's life by bringing our members together in dynamic ways. One of those initiatives is already underway. Our family-friendly Shabbat services. Scott and Shoni and I are working together to develop this series. It was 2 weeks ago. We had the first one of our invigorated series. About 90 people gathered over the course of that Friday night to eat dinner, to hear stories, to sing, to laugh, and to dance together at an innovative service right here in this room. It spanned people of all ages. We had some of our youngest, we had a few middle schoolers, we even had a high schooler, all the way on up. And we're going to be continuing the series in this new year, roughly 6-week intervals. We continue to develop it and expand it so we can all celebrate together. I shared other ideas from our garden meetings with the board that puts temple leadership into a connecting and coordinating role. And we are still in early planning stages, and I want to hold off on promising any specifics until we have concrete programs ready for you. If you have the sense of where we are with those family services, with our Sukkot and Simchat Torah, all ages experiences to which Michelle alluded, that's the direction in which we're moving. And exactly to that point, I do have something very concrete to share. Our new board communications position has been filled by Bridget Hodder, who spoke so beautifully to us last night with her personal prayer. Luminous. Bridget joined Bethel right before the pandemic and has extensive experience in board leadership and spearheading initiatives much like these. You will be receiving an email from Bridget shortly after the holidays, at the conclusion of our festival season, inviting you to reconnect with our community in new and deeply supportive ways. And I'm going to quote your email, Bridget. She says, "We're ready, we're energized, and we are embodying joyful, participatory Judaism in 5783. Nice call out to the vision statement. We're on a journey. I love this metaphor. We're on a journey together. And our vision statement is our roadmap on that journey. And we will use that map to take us to places where we will find holy purpose together. That key word being together. Where we can take shelter to make our sanctuary a refuge to the storms outside in our lives. Where we can learn to find resilience as we study together, as we prepare together to engage in the perpetual work of Tikkun Olam. We've not yet reached the milestones that we want to experience, that we must reach together. It requires more of each one of us than being willing to come together. It requires us to engage in some difficult soul work, which is what this festival season is all about. It requires us to open ourselves to hearing the needs of our members so that all can fully participate in the life of this community that ranges from keeping us connected online, and I think even without a little bit, to ensuring that all who enter our building have a safe and comfortable place to use the restroom. It requires us to listen to different perspectives and opinions, to hold one another with loving, respectful care, to ensure that all of our members are appreciated and are honored for their unique perspectives. That's our path forward in this new year. And that's how we're going to continue in the best traditions of our community. Our staff and our leadership will continue forward in partnership with our congregation, as always. We will explore new initiatives that have the potential to deepen our relationships as they support our members. And we are designating time as a board to address this issue at each of our upcoming meetings. And we have a wonderful board person who's going to be taking point in reaching out to our community as the holidays conclude about some of these new opportunities and initiatives. So, just like in the story, let's reach out to one another with loving hands and with open hearts as we connect with all of those we care about around us. And let's answer the call when it comes to sustain our current numbers and to welcome new ones. In this holy season, may the call of the shofar lead us towards light, finding those holy sparks in the darkness, and to open our eyes to blessings that we may never have imagined. HaShanah Tova Metuka. May this year be sweet for us all. Amen.